Hey guys, I just wanted to go over some of the answers to the muscular system and the integumentary system with you. Um, we'll probably have a test over these two topics on Tuesday. So for review here, I have pulled up the slides with the worksheets. So it says, what are the three types of muscle? And they are skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. And skeletal muscle is usually attached to bones. And skeletal muscles are controlled by the central nervous system. And two examples of voluntary muscle or voluntary movement caused by skeletal muscles could be anything from typing, dancing, walking, anything that you intentionally do that you make your body move, that would be a voluntary movement. Skeletal muscles under a microscope have alternating light and dark bands called striations. So that's your one type of muscle. Your next type of muscle is smooth muscle. And smooth muscle is not under conscious or voluntary control. So their contractions are involuntary. Smooth muscle is found in the stomach, blood vessels, small and large intestines. So your stomach muscles, smooth muscles, will churn your food to help digest it. Also, there are some contractions in your blood vessel walls to help keep your blood pumping, but you don't have to consciously think about that happening to make it happen. It does does this on its own, so it's under involuntary control. Three movements of the human body that smooth muscle controls. We've already mentioned those, helping to move your food through your digestive tract, helping to push your blood through the circulatory system. Even the muscles in your eyes will decrease the size of your pupils when in bright light, and it will cause your pupils to open up when you're in darker environments. The third type of muscle is cardiac muscle, which is in the heart. Cardio refers to heart. Cardiac muscle is similar to skeletal muscle in that it is striated. And it's similar to smooth muscle in that it's not under voluntary control. You don't have to sit there and tell your heart to beat, contract, beat, contract. It does it on its own. The heart has a special area called the sinoatrial node, which serves as a pacemaker to keep the heart pumping. So it's innervated on its own, but so it's not under conscious control. Okay, the next section is on a muscle contraction and what causes a muscle to contract. And we're going to go very basic with this for this particular class. It's basically when the thin filaments and the striations of the muscle fiber, and a muscle fiber is a muscle cell, they slide over the thicker filaments. So those bands, when the thinner filaments slide over the thicker filaments, that's what causes a muscle contraction. And what causes the muscle to contract is basically a nerve impulse occurs, and at the end of the nerve ending does not exactly touch the muscle fiber cells. There's a little bit of a gap there, and the nerve endings will release neurotransmitter chemicals into that gap. And that when those muscle fibers become aware that those chemicals are there, it will cause them to contract. And that's kind of a real watered down version of what happens there. So that pretty much takes care of the answers for the muscular system. Also, if you're having trouble writing things down, you can always pause the video, back things up, listen to it again, whatever you need to do to get the correct answers. All right, I'm going to pause this for a second, and then I'm going to switch over to the integumentary study guide. So for the integumentary system, the skin is the largest organ of the human body because remember, an organ is layers of tissues working together to carry out a function. So that's why we can classify skin as an organ. Skin, according to this slide, says it's about 7% of total body weight. The three parts of the integumentary system are the skin, hair, and nails. Here are some purposes or functions of the integumentary system. It protects the body from injury and ultraviolet radiation. It defends against disease. It helps to regulate body temperature and prevents the body from drying out. And that is your skin or your integumentary system. The outer layer of skin is called your epidermis. And because of the keratin in it, it's a protein. It helps to provide waterproofing for the body. So the function of keratin is that it helps provide a waterproofing substance to keep the skin from drying out and to keep too much water from coming in. So the keratin makes the skin tough and waterproof. So there are glands in the dermis, which is the layer below the epidermis, and these glands help to secrete oil that helps to lubricate the skin. And if our bodies did not have keratin and oil, then our bodies would lose water through evaporation. Or if you're like in a watery environment, you might absorb too much water. So the oil with the keratin helps to prevent too much water from leaving the body, but it also prevents us from absorbing too much water if we're in a water type environment. How does the integumentary system prevent disease? Well, the epidermis forms a tight barrier. It helps to keep out bacteria to protect the body from diseases. Damage to large areas of skin allows bacteria to enter the body freely. So this lack of protection is one reason why severe burns are so dangerous. So basically, the skin provides a barrier to the internal organs, the circulatory system, and so forth. It helps to keep bacteria and other viruses and things that would harm us out of the layers of our skin where they could set up an infection. Okay. They're talking about burns here because once you have a burn, that skin is damaged and it's more susceptible to becoming infected. Okay, another thing it said at the very beginning was that our skin protects us from ultraviolet light, and it's specifically the pigment in our skin that does that. The pigment is called melanin, and in the lower layers of the epidermis, some cells contain this melanin, and it's a pigment that absorbs UV light, and this absorption prevents DNA damage, which can cause skin cancer. So the melanin is a way to absorb the UV light, which keeps it from damaging the DNA, which hopefully prevents the onset of skin cancer. As far as regulating body temperature, two structures. The blood vessels helps to regulate body temperature. When you are hot, the blood vessels will open. They become wider to allow more heat to leave the body. When you are cold, the blood vessels contract. It forces the blood toward your internal body organs to keep them warm, to prevent you from going into hypothermia. When you're hot, the sweat glands will create or secrete excess water, sweat, and the sweat evaporating off your skin has a cooling effect to help cool you down. Okay, so those are basically the answers to the 2 study guides that you've had. And what I want you to do today for class is I want you to go over this and study this, because you will have a test over these 2 handouts or study guides on Tuesday. And then we're going to go on to our next topic. All right, guys, good luck studying. If you have any questions, you can email me. Thank you.